Hey guys, Chauncey Phillips here, doing my video about my personal picks of the best and worst films of 2013. Now, of course, there's a whole bunch of movies that I haven't seen. There's some things on here people might be surprised that I didn't include. There's a lot of pretty good movies this year. This year, in my opinion, compared to last year, I felt like there was a lot more, movies that were really pretty good. What I did this year was the best films, some runner-ups, and then the worst. Of course, there's a whole bunch of other ones that I could have included. I tried to really narrow it down to the ones that really, to me, really stood out as really good movies. The first one for the best pit film, and these are in really no order, for the best, which is 15 that I've picked for the absolute best, is 12 Years a Slave, which to me, that whole movie was extremely effective. I got really into the whole story, and it was one of those movies too. It was a longer movie, but it flew by so quick, and it was one of those kind of movies when you almost would like to see even more about, what happens and things like that. It's basically, though, about a guy, during the time of slavery, and they kind of have free states, and he's a free, African American. He's, where he lives, and he ends up being conned by these terrible con men, because he plays the violin, and being conned to go to perform where they, at this kind of some kind of place they try and take him to. They end up drugging him and basically selling him into slavery, even though they have no business doing that because he has his free papers and where he lives is free. And it's basically about him, basically being for 12 years and all the struggles and all the terrible things he has to go through, even though he has no business being there. Number two I picked was Nebraska, the Bruce Dern film. That movie was so good, and it's one of those movies too. Some people might look at the trailer and go, "Oh, looks kind of boring." To me, though, I love those kind of character study films. From the director who did Election, it's another one of I would say probably my top 50 movies. Really like that one a lot. This one's about an old man who basically he gets this thing in the mail that says he's won $1 million, and he wants to, it's basically one of those scheme kind of things you get in the mail, like, oh, you won, and he wants to go and get his money, and everyone's looking at him like he's crazy. His son is, trying to kind of humor him, even though he's saying he knows you didn't win. It's about them kind of going to pick up the money, even though you kind of know it's a scheme from the beginning. But it's kind of about their adventure and the things that have happened along the way. Really, really sweet, well done movie. The next one is the Harmony Korine film, Spring Breakers, and a lot of people had really, really mixed opinions of this movie. I really like it. I like Harmony Korine's movie, especially Gummo. To me, I thought this was a pretty good movie about a bunch of these, I think, like early college girls who end up going to spring break and all the trouble they get into. And James Franco plays this kind of crazy rapper character, and he's really over the top in it. And I think to me, it's probably my favorite James Franco role just because it's so strange and there's so many weird things in it. The music is really good as well. Number four is The Hunt, which is the Dutch film about a teacher who ends up being accused, falsely accused of, inappropriate contact with a child. He's a kindergarten teacher, and it's just a really good study about how people with mob mentality and going after this guy who was one of probably the nicest kind of teachers you could ask for, and the one girl is like kind of angry at him, so she ends up making up something because of something her older brother was saying and accusing him of it, not even really knowing what she's doing. The next one is, now this one came out in America, but I think it was out like a while back in other countries, but it's Maniac, the Maniac remake starring Elijah Wood, and I thought that was a really effective movie. It was also all done from the perspective of Elijah Wood's character, basically from what he sees. The only time in the whole movie you end up seeing him is when you see him in the mirror, looking in the car mirror, like his reflections and things like that. And I liked how they did that. And, in some movies, if they did things like that, they would be a really easy way to not have the actor there. But he was actually there the whole time. They strapped the camera to him a number of times. A number of times he was behind the camera. But to me, it was a really effective, remake and a really different take on it. Also, really, really good music. The next one is a documentary called Blackfish. And to me, one of the reasons I said this at the top is it really affected me. And also, if you see this thing, you're never going to want to go to SeaWorld again when you just see about the stuff with the killer whales and all the kind of cover-ups and bad things that have happened there, and I know there's lots of controversy around it, but to me it was one of the best documentaries I've really ever seen, using, the archive footage they had and the way they put it together was just really well done. Number 7 is the Conjuring, which to me, I think was one of the creepiest movies I've seen in a really long time. I know some people say it wasn't scary. It's the thing with horror movies and things like that. Some people find certain things scary, some people don't. Like, to me, Session 9 was one of the creepiest movies. Just the whole aspect of the insane asylum and that. But with this one, there's just some really creepy visuals, especially above the bookcase or the dresser in this movie. Just some really images in this movie that really creeped me out. And I thought it was a really effective haunted house film. The next one is another one that I don't think many people have seen, and it's The Book Thief. I really like this one. It's got some kind of exaggerated kind of aspects to it, like, could it really happen like that, and just things like that. You can tell, though, because it was based off a book. It wasn't on a true account, but it was about this girl, during the time of, the war in the 40s when Hitler was around, and with the Nazis and all that kind of stuff. And it was about this girl whose mother died, and she ends up staying with this family, this German family who's taking care of her, and basically they end up getting her to get her money or something like that. And basically what's going on is that family ends up letting a Jewish guy who is a soldier hide out in their basement. It's basically about this kind of her with the books, and it's just this really well done story. The next one is Prisoners, and I'm sure this one's on a lot of people's list. Just a very effective movie about these two girls that go missing, and the fathers who are doing anything they can to figure out where these girls are. And Paul Dano is in it as kind of the guy that they believe is the person, and he's pretty. I think he's good in everything. I don't think I've ever seen a movie that he wasn't good in. The next one, and this is one that I think came out a little earlier in the year, and then kind of has gotten misplaced, and it's not on many people's top list. As if you notice, a lot of the movies that end up on the list, kind of like the big kind of Academy Award movies, always come out the last months of the year. This one came out pretty early in the year, and it was The Place Behind the Pines. I liked the first half of the movie a lot more, the stuff with Ryan Gosling, but still I thought the third act as well was really pretty good, because they did a good job on the casting of the two kids in that. But it's basically about this guy who's, stealing money on his bike, played by Ryan Gosling, and just all these kind of things that happen. It's one of those movies you can't say too much about it without ruining little aspects of it. The next one is one that I can never pronounce, but was one of the most interesting, different vampire movies that I've seen in a long time. And I think it's called Byzantium. I wish they had an easy title, like The Hotel or something simple. I'll put the information below so you can see it, but it was a really creepy, different take on vampires with amazing visuals in the movie. This stuff with this blood running through the river thing, just some amazing stuff. Totally different take on the whole vampire thing about a mother and daughter and then the daughter is basically seeing all these kind of visions about the past, and because she's been alive for all these years, hundreds of years, and the people that she's killing are all old people, and it kind of telling you about why, and it's some really interesting aspects. And the guy that she likes in it is a really cool actor. He's also in a movie called Antiviral, which was not a really very great movie, but was interesting. The next one, this is a movie that a lot of people disliked. It's from the director of Drive. I liked it because it's a very weird movie, has a very kind of Argento kind of lighting scheme to it, really, really cool music, and just some cool aspects to it. It's another Ryan Gosling film, Only God Forgives, and this movie, like I said, a lot of people really dislike this one. To me, I like these kind of movies, and it's about this guy living in, I think it's in Hong Kong. I'm pretty sure that's where it was. I can't remember exactly where it was set, but it's about him, and his brother ends up getting killed by this cop because of what he was doing, and the mother is basically going after Gosling, is saying, you have to find who killed your brother, and it was a cop, and there's all these fighting and samurai scenes in it. Just a really pretty cool one. I actually think it was in Bangkok. The next one is, to me, one of the most interesting zombie movies in a long time. A very different take, a zombie love story warm bodies about a girl who ends up falling in love with this zombie because the zombie ended up biting her old boyfriend and kind of taking the memories of him from eating him. I don't know, it's just a really different take on it. A lot of people watch the movie too, not thinking it's going to be like it is. They're kind of thinking it's going to be kind of a typical like Twilight kind of movie, and they go into it really surprised with how much they like it. The next one is the To-Do List, the Audrey Plaze movie, with which I thought was a really pretty funny throwback to 90s, late 80s, early 90s kind of comedy films about this girl who's graduating from high school, and she really hasn't done too much, especially very much stuff sexually. It's basically about her making this list of all these things she wants to accomplish before summer is out, before she goes to college. And there's some great stuff about her working at this pool, and a great spoof on the Caddyshack scene in it. Bill Hader is really good in it. Bill Hader's wife is the director of the film. I really liked it. It went over a lot of people's head too, especially because a lot of people were like, why does everybody look so old in it, playing teenagers? And it was kind of done like that on purpose. It's kind of a joke about the 90210 kind of stuff when people are about 30 years old, even into 30, playing 17 to like 20-year-olds. The last one on the top, list of the best movies was The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which I just saw a couple days ago. That Ben Stiller directed and stars in it. It was a remake. Never saw the original one. I think the original was from the 40s, which I definitely will have to see that at some point, but I'm sure it's pretty different. And this is about a guy who's works in Life magazine. Life magazine is about to close and become a all online. He's the guy who's basically like the photo editor and puts together pictures and things like that. And one of the last pictures for the final cover, with the guy who he works with, always doing his pictures for the covers, Sean Penn's character ends up lost. And it's basically him trying to track down where Sean Penn's character is and get the negative. And it's all these kind of adventures. And it's, Ben Stiller's character is the kind of person who's really never done anything. And this is basically him finally getting out and doing something. Now we're going to go on to the runner-ups. And I'm going to go through these ones a little quicker. Won't talk about these ones as much. Runner-up, Evil Dead, I thought was a really good remake. I was really happy with it. It's a shame it doesn't seem like they're going to be doing part 2, or at least not for a while. Another one, Rachel Adams movie, About Time. I really liked about a guy who can go back in time. He has the ability to go back in time and do events over. It's like an interesting, different take on time travel movies mixed with kind of a love story. I liked it. The next one is Mud. I'm sure a lot of people have that on their top list. I wouldn't say it's like my all-time favorite. That's why I wouldn't put it on there. I put it on the runner-up. Technically, this could be at the top 30 because I like these ones just about as much. The other one is the next one, number 4 in this list, is Upside Down. I feel like a lot of people didn't see this one. It's about these two worlds, and someone, on the world, one world's upside down, the other one's straight forward up. It's really weird, but it's Kristen Dunst up there and the other guy, and them falling in love, and the people from below can't go up there because of the gravity. And it's really trippy, weird love story movie. The next one is Frozen, which I really like, the musical from Disney. The next one is Old Boy, the remake. Everyone hated that one, and I had no problem with it. I really liked it. I like those crazy ass movies like that, and to me, I thought the villain, who was from, District 9 and things like that, I thought he was great, but I don't know, I just really liked it. The other one people disliked, a lot of people, was Out of the Furnace, the Christian Bale movie. I thought that was a really pretty well done as well. The next one's The Hunger Games, Catching Fire. I really do like those movies. I've never, read the books, but I really like them. I liked it, the one from Donnie Darko, who hasn't done tons of movies lately, came back for that one. The next one's Insidious Chapter 2, another very, very creepy one. You're Next, the next one, which I thought was a really, really well done, different type of slasher film with some pretty good twists in it. The next one, This Is the End, which was, Seth Rogen, James Franco, Jonah Hill all playing themselves at, going to James Franco's party, and it's in the middle of the end of the world. And the last one on the best list is The Lords of Salem. I know a lot of people hated that one. That one really stuck with me, though. I like Rob Zombie for the most part, especially, House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects. Halloween ones were okay, But Lords of Salem, I like that kind of witch kind of movie. Now onto the worst movies. The first one, you guys probably remember me talking about this in the video when I first saw it, was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D. That, to me, was the biggest mess. Had all kinds of time frame errors, and they got people like Bill Moseley in it, and sort of threw him in there in this like throwaway cameo in the beginning when they should just had him be in the movie way more. You know, they had Gunnar Hansen all of them in it. Just everything about it was just a disastrous mess. I just did not like that one at all. The next one, I think some people like this one. To me, I just was like, after it was over, I was so glad to leave this damn movie. And to me, I hated it. And I saw nothing good about this movie. And it was Ender's Game. I don't know what it was about it. I couldn't get into it. There was nothing I liked. I liked that one actor, though, who was in the Summer movie recently. But that was about it. The other one, which I thought was a pretty big mess of a movie, was Homefront. I think that's what it was called, when that guy with, dealing the meth and stuff, that was a mess to me. The next one is The Canyons. I thought that was a disaster. The Bling Ring is one that I hate that kind of stuff about people stealing and those kind of groups of people like ganging up and all that. I don't like that kind of stuff. Bullet to the Head, which I thought was one of the crappiest things. I don't even know how I got through that one. Another one a lot of people say is the worst. Looking back on it, it is pretty damn bad. And it's Identity Thief. I mean, that really was a pretty big mess. I mean, there was a couple funny things in it, but thinking back on it, I don't think I ever want to watch that again. And the next one, which I think is probably... there's a couple more. One of the other ones, it's one of the biggest messes of the year, was The Getaway. That was just such a disaster. This one, I think, is probably the worst of the year, was Good Day to Die Hard. That was... I don't... You know me, I'm not great at saying why things are bad. You know, some people are probably like, you didn't like these? But I didn't like these. Last Exorcism 2 is another one that I really disliked. I don't know. It was just really pretty poor. It kind of is a bit of the area of the best worst, though. The next one, Inappropriate Comedy. Really hated that one. That was a disaster. You know, Vince from ShamWow directed it. Now I'm going to say the best worst movies of the year were probably Grown Ups 2, which was a horrible movie, but some really funny scenes in it with Nick Swartzen as the bus driver, and Killing Season. I mean, it was so bad with John Travolta had this really bad dye job in there, and it's just everything about it was so peculiar, but I loved it. I knew it was horrible, but I really liked it. You know, best worst, if you don't know that expression, comes from the movie Troll 2. But anyway, though, guys, that was my list of the best worst movies. Try to go into them detail. I didn't want this to be super, super long, though. But would love to hear what you guys think of, what are your top movies? What are your, if you have runner-ups and things like that, and what are your least favorite movies of the year? Anyway, though, guys, thanks again for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you guys later.